Oh yeah, we're starting off the new year right. During my early childhood, my three most played and most important games were all for the Wii. Those games were GoldenEye, Mario Kart Wii, and the most relevant to today's topic, Super Smash Bros. Brawl. One of my very first mains in Brawl, and Smash Bros. Overall, was Samus. I firmly remember the day I used her Final Smash for the first time and seeing that this badass power armor wearing bounty hunter was a woman, and my first thought was,
A woman?
yeah, I didn't have a very positive view of that fact, but despite that, I couldn't break away from playing as Samus. This is where my love for Metroid started, but I wouldn't play my first Metroid game until I was around 7 or 8, and that Metroid game was Super Metroid, and what a hell of a game to start off with. Developed by Nintendo R&D1 and Intelligent Systems, Super Metroid is the third installment in the Metroid series and was released on the Super Nintendo in 1994. It was the game that gave Metroid many of the series' defining features and even helped create the Metroidvania genre. It was also one of the hardest Metroid games until Metroid Samus Returns and Dread gave it a run for its money, along with Zero Mission, I think, but I could be wrong on that. It was the first Metroid game I completed from front to back, and is a game that I revisit yearly. Since it's almost time for my yearly playthrough, I thought I'd take a look at one of my favorite games of all time.
The last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace.
The story is set after the events of Metroid 2 and starts with Samus taking the last surviving Metroid to the Galactic Federation Research Station, and that goes horrendously wrong, as expected at this point, as a group of space pirates, along with Ridley, raid the station and capture the baby Metroid. Samus arrives to the research station at the last possible moment to find Ridley stealing the baby Metroid, which starts the station's self-destruct sequence. Samus follows Ridley to the planet Zebes, and her objective becomes to stop the space pirates from cloning the Metroids for galactic domination again. The only words in this game's story are at the beginning, and yet it still tells a better story than Other M. I am holding on to hope for Other M in terms of gameplay and story, but from what I've seen, it ain't looking all that good. I think PGR Review said it best in that Super Metroid tells its story through its gameplay. And yeah, I'd say that's a great way of summing it up. And that's all I have to say about the story. Yeah, this game was made in the days where the plot of a game was just as important as the plot in a film featuring Mihiro Ichiki. Before I talk about the gameplay, I gotta praise Super Metroid's art style because it still looks good even after 31 years. Fuck! Oh shit, oh god damn it. If you're not a fan of how this game looks, then you are a perfect example of someone having a wrong opinion. I also think the art style reflects the series perfectly when compared to the other two games of what I call the Big Nintendo 3, which are Zelda and Mario. I mean, the tone of this game compared to the other two is much darker and not as lighthearted, while mostly still being family-friendly.
Mostly.
Now let's talk about the gameplay, where the real money for the game is made. Like I said earlier, this was the Metroid game that gave Metroid many of its defining features. I can't think of any modern examples, so think of it like this. Where Metroid 1 and 2 got the ball rolling, Super Metroid sped that ball up and gave it a nice coat of paint. I won't go too in-depth about the items because there's a lot of them and I don't really feel like doing all that work, typing all that shit out, or really saying all that shit. So, just deal with what I got. Most of the items are returning items like the Vario Suit, Screw Attack, Space Jump, Spring Ball, Wave Beam, Plasma Beam, and others. However, there are some new upgrades and abilities that would become mainstays in the series. The first new item you'll get in this is the Charge Beam, which is self-explanatory. It allows you to charge your Power Beam for extra damage. The next one you find is the Super Missile, which is like a regular missile but does 5 times the damage. It's a similar situation with the Power Bomb, except for the fact that the Power Bomb upgrade is a small thermonuclear warhead.
You must be joking.
No, I'm being dead serious. According to Other M, it is a small thermonuclear warhead. Anyways, the grapple beam allows Samus to grapple onto certain blocks, and the X-ray visor is fucking useless, as it is used to see through blocks. The two biggest upgrades are the speed boost and the gravity suit. The speed boost allows you to break speed blocks and Shine Spark, which will not bite us in the ass when we get to Dread. If you don't know what Shine Sparking is, it starts once the speed boost activates and you press down on the D-pad, you hold the potential energy and release it by pressing jump in any direction on the D-pad. This does drain your health, but it's negligible at the worst. The gravity suit allows you to move through water as if you are on land, and for the items, that's pretty much it. However, we're not done with the new features. Firstly, you get a nearly full 360-degree aim, which has never not been useful. This was also one of the first games, to my knowledge, to include the option to change your controls, which is something I haven't seen in any other Super Nintendo games. The most useful feature is definitely the map, because one of the biggest problems with Metroid games, especially for first-time players, is the navigation, and this is especially true for the first two games. It's also one of the reasons I don't want to ever play Metroid on the NES ever again. It has a very basic map that only tells you what areas you've explored and has an okay map key, but still a solid map nonetheless. The map also gives you vague hints as to if there's an item or station in a previously explored area. Briefly touching on stations, ammo and energy recharge stations get their own rooms instead of being in some random fucking spot like in Metroid 2, the search for more Metroids. There are also map rooms that give you parts of the map. Another thing about the map progression is that it feels natural. And also, Samus's controls feel great, especially when compared to the NES Metroid, which was extremely stiff. What else? Oh, the bosses. The bosses are one of the best parts of the game, and instead of being small guys that fire random shit at you, they're bigger, better, and have actual gimmicks that you need to utilize in order to defeat them, usually involving shooting a weak spot with missiles. The boss fights are also very memorable and have this sort of natural progression to them in terms of difficulty. That's all I have for the gameplay. Let's talk about the soundtrack. I can't talk about any Metroid game without talking about the soundtrack. Super Metroid's soundtrack was composed by Kenji Yamamoto and contains about 33 tracks. If I had to summarize the soundtrack as a whole, I feel as though this soundtrack is atmospheric and has this sense of dread and creep factor that you don't see in many other games. I mean, just listen to that opening theme, which has that slow build-up that makes you feel like saying, oh shit. And then hits you with the main part, and you think, oh fuck yeah. Another great example is the opening Criteria theme, which, now that I think about it, conveys exactly how Samus feels when she lands on Zebes. She's returned to this place that has brought her so much trauma and anguish. She thought the job was done, but she has to come back and face her personal horror once more. It also conveys what the player is possibly thinking, because even for new and returning players, this land is unfamiliar. This isn't the Zebes you once knew. Even the most cheerful of tracks have this sense of dread, like the theme for Brinstar. You may not hear it, but I feel it. Now, with all the praise I've been giving this game, there has to be at least one problem with this game, right? Right? Lady and gentlemen, I am proud to say that I could not find a single issue with this game. I even tried looking at an IGN review and tried to find some Google reviews that talked unnecessary shit. Nothing.
It's perfection, Walter.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything. I'm being dead serious. So, like the man said, it's perfection. If you're a first-time player, you might be asking about why I'm not bitching about the difficulty, and trust me, when I first played this game, I found it extremely difficult and was originally gonna bitch a bit about it. I found it so difficult that I died to the first two bosses an embarrassing number of times. I got lost a fuck ton of times, and once I completed the game for the first time, I felt like I could beat any game. I even felt I could have a smooth ride beating Dread.
You serious?
However, I found the game much easier after subsequent playthroughs, and even as early as my second playthrough of the game, I found bosses that I previously struggled with much easier, and I was able to navigate all the way up to Kraid before needing the help of a walkthrough. Some people have complained about the controls. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And most of them were on Reddit, so yeah. Do with that information what you will. It's a game so amazing that even the extra shit slaps. Did you need the option to turn off all of your suit upgrades or make Samus moonwalk? No, but it's still pretty fucking nice that those options are included as an extra little bonus. With all that said, I counted a total of 21 points, with all of them being good, leading to a base score of 100%. This is even in question that I had fun, because of course I had fun playing this game, but the score's already maxed out, so I sadly can't add to it. What a great start to my Metroid retrospective. Oh shit, I never said that this was the start of my Metroid retrospective. Well, no time better than now. Welcome to the start of my Metroid retrospective series. Like PG Reviews retrospective? Yes, but instead of going in order, I'm tackling these games in an order in which I feel like. This series will probably take years to finish, because that's probably how long I'll need in order to gather the mental energy to play all of the games again, because Metroid on the NES makes me want to put a gun to my head. These first 3 or 4 videos in the series also serve as a way to get some other projects and videos done. With that said, I hope y'all had a happy new year, and I wish the best for you. And I will see you next month, where I drown my loneliness in metal music and crying alone in the corner. I love my life.